Hey friends, there's a certain word I want to talk about that I know describes a lot of people or they use it to describe themselves. And I just want to touch on it because I personally dislike this word a lot. In fact, I can say I actually kind of hate this word. And I want to share my opinions and my thoughts on it and why I feel the way I do about it. I'm talking about the word blerd. Now, for anyone that doesn't know what the word blerd means, blerd is simply black nerd. And I know it's caught on lately within the last few years. It's actually become a big thing that people use to describe themselves. You know, black nerds describe themselves as blerds. So I particularly don't like this word. And I know it's not a popular opinion for me not to like it, but because, you know, I actually do fit what a blerd is. I am a black nerd, but there's something about the word itself I don't like, which I'll get into in just a moment. But before we get started, let me tell you about myself. I am, in fact, a black nerd. I grew up being a black nerd. And I was into a lot of things that a lot of people weren't into. And I went to a school that was mostly Hispanic and black. And I met up with some of my friends who were also black nerds or Hispanic nerds, or they didn't fit the idea of what a nerd is. So going to a school I went to and meeting the friends I've met, and to this very day I still have, we're all considered nerds, and we kind of just lived being who we were. Blerd is a word that would have been useful to me back in the day when I was actually struggling with the fact that I was different from everyone else, that being a black nerd is not something that people normally see. And it's kind of a odd thing for people to experience when they meet a black nerd. So being a black nerd for me, and using the word blerd back then would have made sense for such a small group of people who didn't know each other, who were trying to learn that there's other people out there like us who are actually trying to, you know, fit in with each other. There's other people who are black who do enjoy sci-fi and anime and all these different things that we wouldn't be normally seen watching back in the day, or wouldn't be thought of to be a part of. You know, but today, in a post-Iron Man world where everyone watches comic book movies, everyone loves comic book movies, and they're basically the highest selling movies out there right now. And basically they dominated TV. You know, comic book shows are all over TV. You cannot escape comic book movies and shows. It's kind of, it doesn't really fit into modern society. It's hard to say, hey, I'm a black nerd, I'm a blerd, I need this word to exist to describe me, when everyone is a nerd today. It feels like something that exists for someone who's probably never read a comic book before to have to latch on to say that they're cool. It doesn't really seem like anything that really needs to exist in 2016. It just does not. In a year that we actually had Black Panther on film, Luke Cage had a full television show with a second season coming. We've had like so many different advances with black people or just people of color within any kind of form of media dealing with nerds, from superheroes to like sci-fi to television, movies. It feels like we do not need a word like blerd to exist at this time. It simply exists as a marketing thing. It just simply exists to make nerds hip. That's exactly what the audience is for the word blerd. It's just people who basically aren't really nerds and aren't really like into nerd culture as deep as they say. And they're starting to sort of get into it. But instead of just having fun with it and just enjoying it, they need this label to call themselves. So it's different. It's different from like just being a regular nerd. It's different from the regular fandom that's out there. It's them actually adding their race into it, saying, I'm just not a nerd. I'm a blerd. You know, and just, to me, fandom and your race has nothing to do with each other. You can be a nerd and be any race, and it doesn't matter. We all love the same things. We all love Star Wars. We all love Star Trek. And at the very end of the day, if you're trying to add something into it to make it unique or try to make something hip, then that means that you're just trying too hard. So if you're a diehard, hardcore nerd and you actually call yourself a blerd, that's fine. I'm not knocking you for calling yourself a blerd. If you're still new to like comic books or so, and maybe you got your start within movies, or maybe you're just a movie fan, you love all the movies, you love all the TV shows and all, that's fine too. I'm not putting you down for that. I'm just really just stating the reality of it. Blerd is a catchy word, and it only exists to be catchy in 2016, where it's no longer necessary. There's no longer a reason for blerd to exist when there's so many different types of people who are going out to see these movies and watching these shows. Right now, we're at an era in which it's great to be a comic book fan. If you're a comic book fan and you're a gamer, Right now is the best era for you. And it seems like at this moment, there's no reason to try to take something that has like this stigma of being, bad, being a nerd, being geeky, and try to put a little bit of spice on it to make it something better. Be yourself. Enjoy being yourself. If you're a nerd, then you're a nerd. If you're a black nerd, then at the very end of the day, you're just a nerd. That's exactly what it is. There's no changing of it. There's no making being a nerd hip. If you're a nerd of any way, shape, or form, you are a nerd. So let's just stop trying to make something that's not really a bad thing into something better to fit, to be more hipper, when it doesn't need to be hip. It is what it is. Being a nerd is fine. Being a black nerd is fine. Being an Asian nerd is fine. Being a Hispanic nerd is fine. Being a nerd is fine enough. Your race does not have to play a part of it, especially at a time which we made so many advances within nerd culture. Okay, those are my thoughts on the word blerd. I know it's not actually popular and people are going to have issues with it, but that's just how I feel. As a hardcore, diehard, old school nerd, I do not need a word like blerd to define me. So how do you feel about the word blerd? Do you feel like it's fine, that it's something that it should be used today, or you think it's something that needs to be used today? Do you use it yourself? How do you feel about it? How do you describe yourself as a blerd? Do you find yourself to be more into like certain things more than another thing, like comic books over movies or movies over comic books? Are you just now discovering some of these things through the movies and you're starting to get into nerd culture and just kind of embrace it? Are you starting to live your truth? Are you finally coming out of the TARDIS and let everyone know I'm a nerd, get used to it? Just let me know. Just comment below. Let me know your nerd experience, how you became a nerd. What kind of convinced you that you were a nerd? What made you actually accept the fact you're a nerd? And just be openly and out about it. And if you consider yourself a blerd, let me know how you feel about this video, how you feel about my thoughts on blerd, how you feel about the word blerd. Just share. Let me know what you think. Okay, guys, I'm Jeff from Nerdmania. You guys take care.